So today I'm going to be watching this video. It's called Misconceptions about the Netherlands, American expats in the Netherlands. So yeah, I watched one of this channel's videos recently and I really enjoyed it. They made a lot of good points. I like their personality, so I wanted to watch another video of theirs. And I thought this one sounded like an interesting topic. Misconceptions about the Netherlands. I guess maybe like stereotypes will come under that as well. So it's always interesting to see what people outside of Netherlands or outside of a country think about it, and then learn about the truth from people who actually live there. So you can tell me what you think about these misconceptions. Tell me if there's any other things that people stereotype about them in the Netherlands, or those misconceptions they have that you know of that are not included on this list, and tell me what you think about them as well.
What comes to mind when you ask an American about the Netherlands? Or ask them about Dutch people? Do they think all Dutch wear clogs? Or does a map of the Netherlands look like this to them? Today, we're counting down the top 6 misconceptions Americans have about the Netherlands. And we're calling out our friends and family. Let's hope they don't watch this video.
As Americans living in the Netherlands, when you tell someone that you live in the Netherlands, you sometimes will get some interesting and inaccurate ideas about what the Netherlands is. So we thought we'd put together a little list of the top misconceptions that we've heard about living in the Netherlands. The Netherlands.
The Netherlands.
Some things I always thought about the Netherlands were that everybody smokes pot, prostitution is very common, everybody rides a bike, to work, to school, to the prostitutes.
So the first thing that I did was I actually posted on Instagram. I said, when you hear about the Netherlands, what are some of the first things that come to your mind? And I got some interesting responses. So the one that I heard most commonly was drugs. Secondly, tulips. Wooden shoes was also very common, as well as canals. And randomly someone asked if we could adopt them so they could live here with us.
All right, so I got Amsterdam, weed and prostitutes, canals, free healthcare, and highly paid teachers and reasonably paid doctors.
Okay, so that's interesting. So again, like a lot of these, like Amsterdam, these things, canals, I think it's probably, yeah, like a stereotype, or the first thing people think of, because of maybe how Netherlands is portrayed sometimes in movies and TV shows. They just go to those stereotypes first of all, and then maybe if people in America, that's their only exposure to Netherlands as a country, that's all they can maybe think of, and they don't really see what the real country is like. The thing here, highly paid teachers and reasonably paid doctors, I've not seen that mentioned before. Is that true? Are teachers well paid? Are doctors not so well paid? Why would that be? Tell me in the comments.
So let's set them straight.
First up, not every city in the Netherlands has canals. There's this idea that every Dutch city has a ton of canals like Amsterdam does. And while most Dutch cities do have them, even the more modern ones like Rotterdam, it's nowhere near the level like Amsterdam or even Utrecht. And I would wager to guess that if an American were to visit some of those cities outside of the main ones, they might be surprised at how few canals they actually see.
I think a lot of the cities do have canals. And
Yeah.
Rotterdam has canals too. But just like when you walk around Amsterdam, it's like every block is a canal.
Yeah, you have so many bridges.
And the canal tours. Next up, there's this idea that in the Netherlands, you'll never see a car because everyone rides a bike. Many people in the United States believe that most of the Netherlands is bike dependent, and when you visit the country, you're going to rarely see a car. In fact, there are some YouTube channels that sort of make people believe that. But the reality is you see a lot of cars. Even in cities like Den Haag and Den Bosch, you'll generally see just as many, if not more, cars than bikes. When reading more about car ownership in the Netherlands, it's interesting to learn that it's actually gone up quite a bit in the 2000s. For example, in 1992, about 42% of households were car-free, and in 2016, that dropped to 25%.
Well, that's actually quite an amazing statistic in itself, both of those figures. 42% of Dutch households were car-free in 1992. That actually seems like a huge number. Like I can't imagine many countries would have a higher percentage of households that were car-free. What do you think about that? It's obviously dropped to 25%, which I think is still a very impressive number for people to not have a car. What do you think the reason for that? Is it just how easy it is to cycle around? Is it the cost? Is it just there's no real necessity because the cities are like more like maybe like smaller and easier to get about, good public transport, trams and so on as well? Do you own a car? If not, would you ever think about doing it?
And I think even for us, we were surprised about how many people asked us about our car expenses and our cost of living video, because we don't have a car and we're not planning to get a car. It's just one of the reasons we lived in the Netherlands.
Yeah, it was one of our main motivations for moving.
Yeah, so it is a pretty car-dependent country, surprisingly, and I think there's still a lot of people here that have an expectation that you own a car, but the reality is you don't have to, and a lot of people do ride bikes, just, there's still cars.
Okay, now, is Holland the Netherlands?
I don't know, is it?
Is it just another name for the Netherlands?
I don't know, is it?
Or is it another country entirely? Answer me. Why aren't you answering me?
I don't know.
I think these are probably valid questions a lot of Americans might ask when you tell them to explain the difference between the two. And to be honest, I didn't actually know where Holland was within the Netherlands before we decided to move here.
Did you know it was in the Netherlands?
I don't think I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought maybe it was just another name for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like some countries might have, like the United States and America, people tend to use those names interchangeably. Maybe I thought it was that. But to clear things up, Holland is a part of the Netherlands. It's actually 2 of the 12
provinces.
Fuck. Of the 12 provinces. Also, to be really honest, some of this confusion feels self-inflicted since the official website of the country is holland.com. Yeah, that's confusing, right?
That is confusing. Also, when you fly KLM, a lot of the times they'll say that you're landing in Holland or that we're in Holland.
We're entering Holland airspace.
I don't think they announced that.
And now we're entering Dutch airspace.
Then you can put your clogs back on.
Yeah.
All right, so here's
I'm actually flying with KLM next week. I'm going back to Glasgow and I'll be flying through Amsterdam just for a couple of weeks holiday. And yeah, KLM were the cheapest. I used to fly with KLM quite often when I first came to Asia. Then like Emirates, Qatar were a bit cheaper, but now KLM's back being competitive. So I'm looking forward to flying. When I fly from Amsterdam to Glasgow, I always like the sandwich that you get. Hopefully I still got that. But yeah, I feel like in the UK, I feel like in sporting events and different things that refer to Netherlands, I think in the 90s and early 2000s, Netherlands was referred to as Holland. Like if I watched a football match, it always had like Holland versus whoever, the Holland manager, Holland player. They always used to mention that, but it only seems in the last couple of years they've just changed that to Netherlands. Was there any like official change that did that, like the way Turkey changed to Turkey or whatever that is, or Czech Republic to Czechia? Was there ever any sort of like official name change like that for Netherlands going from Holland, or has it just always been unofficially Holland?
It's a fun one. In the Netherlands, everyone's...
Apart from like obviously Holland being that certain geographical region, but just the people outside of the country, I mean.
Smokes weed or marijuana, cannabis, and it's 100% legal in the country. But that's actually not true at all. It is technically against the law to sell or possess any drugs in the Netherlands, but there's this thing called a toleration policy for what are called soft drugs. Basically, this allows the possession of up to 5 grams without prosecution. This also is the same policy that allows coffee shops to operate within the Netherlands. And if you're not familiar with coffee shops, they don't actually sell coffee. It's a place you go to buy and smoke weed.
They sell coffee as well.
They're extremely popular in Amsterdam, mainly for tourists, but just to emphasize, weed is not actually legal in the Netherlands. Interestingly, I mean, there are coffee shops here in Rotterdam.
Yeah.
There's just like a fraction of the amount that there are in Amsterdam.
Yeah, and there's like 300.
Yeah, and I don't think, I mean, I'm sure some people that live here go to it, but it's really not something that I believe it's not frequented by locals. It's mostly frequented by tourists.
If you're a local and you go to a coffee shop.
Well, no. It's illegal. Don't do that. It is technically illegal.
And naturally, the next one.
Yeah, do any Dutch people just go to coffee shops? Like, I feel like it's a better option than going to the pub or going to the bar to drink alcohol. Like, I drank a lot in my earlier, younger days. Now the thought of drinking, it doesn't really appeal to me at all. I feel like it's still a decent option to relax, just to go, but do you know anybody that's Dutch, that rather than go for drinking alcohol, they would rather just go and have a joint or something like that?
Prostitution
is everywhere in the Netherlands. We're supposed to say that together. People think it's in your face, and every city here has like this seedy red light district with half-naked women in the windows. This is not true. In fact, I think some people might be surprised to learn that prostitution was actually only legalized in the Netherlands in 2000, which is kind of recently.
Amsterdam, the world's ultimate red light city.
It's the city where this type of window shopping for sex workers really exists. Now, that doesn't mean that sex workers don't hold jobs in other cities in the Netherlands. They definitely do. However, they typically operate in more of like an escort type service role. And if you're in other cities, you might even see ads for these. Like I know in Rotterdam, there's a few ads for escort services, especially like in the city center area. And again, it's legal and it's a regulated industry here. Sex work is considered a regular job where you pay taxes and you can even receive unemployment benefits.
All right, finally.
Yeah, I guess that one as well. Maybe that's such a commonly known stereotype just because it's quite unique. I guess people from America, people from like even from the UK, just we don't have that sort of that system. So I guess something like that, again, it's like so like different that it just becomes this thing. It's well known, and then people just expect it to be very common everywhere, whereas obviously it's just very confined to small areas and so on. But yeah, tell me what you think about that.
The biggest misconception, or at least the one we heard most commonly, is that here in the Netherlands, healthcare is completely free. I wish it was.
Yeah, me too.
I think this is a huge misconception that Americans have about the Netherlands. I would say that the average American would likely think that everyone in the Netherlands just happens to have free universal healthcare. But the reality is that it's not free for the average person. Don't get me wrong, healthcare in the Netherlands is much, much less expensive than it was in the United States, but it's not free. There are actually very few European countries where health insurance is completely free for the average person. That was actually, honestly, the biggest shocking thing. Not like I came here with the expectation like, oh, I'm never gonna pay for healthcare again. But in reality, there really aren't that many countries, as I mentioned, that actually have free healthcare. Now, in the Netherlands, there are ways that you can get your healthcare discounted even further through social programs than what we have based on like your income or I think age. But for us, we pay full price and it's a fourth of what we were paying in the United States. And that's not even touching on the deductible or what's called your like
eigen risico,
which is also significantly lower in the United States. So again, way cheaper in the Netherlands compared to the United States. Just not free.
And that's it. That's our complete list of misconceptions America.
That was really cool again. So yeah, interesting points that they raised. I guess it is like those stereotypes that people have, the misconceptions as they say. So yeah, tell me more about the healthcare one. Yeah, I've seen a few videos that's mentioned the healthcare. I know maybe you have to pay something, but I know that the quality of healthcare is very high. Like I'm from the UK, we have the NHS, which is free, but the quality seems to be declining just year after year. So I like the system. Tell me what you have to pay for it. Like, do you have like insurance you can get that covers all of it? How does it work a bit more technically? If you know any videos about that, maybe recommend that and I'll watch it. But yeah, if there's any other misconceptions you've ever came across about Netherlands, maybe speaking to people outside of the country or from outside, please tell me in the comments. I'd love to know. Thanks.